Jim Mullin is with us, the president of Football Canada. It's always great to see you, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing good out at the hacienda here on Bowen Island. Folks may not remember this, but two Vanier Cups ago, Darren was my guest to watch the Vanier Cup here on Bowen Island. So appreciate you
It was
coming out
awesome.
here for that.
Well, it was tremendous hospitality. Have to make it out there again. Actually, maybe we need a plan for August. I don't know if you're going to be around here, but something tells me, and we'll have a conversation off the air. I'll probably call you at some point around the CP Women's Open. Planning on being out there on the coast at the Shaughnessy Club for the CP Women's Open. So maybe make the trip across the ferry to Bowen Island. We'll catch up. But hey, lots going on today. And actually more going on yesterday with the Save the Program, the fundraiser, the one day going on till midnight last night. Tell us about that, and then we'll get a full update on the full SFU situation.
Yeah, 800 pledges, over $700,000 raised yesterday for a Canadian university football program. We were more than impressed, and it helps with the backing of an individual like Amar Doman, who has really stepped up as a leader in this community, not just as a CFL owner, leading the football community and rallying and throwing his time, effort, energy, and money behind this effort to restore Simon Fraser football through what has been a 3 weeks that has been nothing but a constant roller coaster ride. This is something that there's a dedicated group behind the scenes. It's taking up every waking moment and hour of our lives right now. For me, it's about a 14-hour a day thing, throwing some of the resources of Football Canada in to essentially defend one of our 28 high performance teams at the university level. And so far, so good in terms of winning the court of public opinion. I think the real date that's coming up is May the 3rd, when we go to face the university in our injunction process.
Yeah, so lay it out for me. What are the options that are sitting here for the school and those players? Overall, we're trying to save the program, but we're talking about, the spring camps, but we're talking about camps in August, a football season this fall. One of the options that, we were hearing, and especially on social media, was a plea to the Canada West. Their schedule came out yesterday. It does not include SFU on it. So what options are there for these players when it comes to potentially playing football this fall?
First of all, I think the group that's supporting a return for SFU football never looked at Canada West as a 2023 option. They knew that there was going to be work that needed to be done with Canada West and eventually U Sports over 3 months, 8 months, maybe even a year to make that 2024 season possible. There were two options for Simon Fraser moving forward. One is to go back to the Lone Star Conference. There was a schedule drafted up with Simon Fraser in it that was ready to go for 2023. The university, by the way, said money wasn't an issue, and there's 95 players on the roster. So those two things are taken care of. There was a schedule with the Lone Star Conference. If with this time expired over this last month, if that's not a possibility, there's been work done behind the scenes, and it will be in court filings, that there is a non-conference schedule that's been put together of 9 games, 5 teams from Canada, 4 teams from the United States. This would include an opening game at the defending Vanier Cup champion Laval Rouge, or for example. There would be stops in every conference in one way or another. This would conclude with a game against UBC, the Shrum Bowl at BC Place Stadium. And considering some of the buzz that's gone on around this story, it's been relentless in this market, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know how the university can take this many reputation hits daily in the news cycle. But as you hear here, the phone's going off here again. There's momentum behind this story, and there's a path for them to play in 2023. So if the money's there, the team's there, the schedule's there, what's the problem?
That's my question. And my next question is, it's wild when I watch press conferences or, video clips, or when they address the athletes themselves, how it felt like, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody, Jim, I really don't, but it felt like, the cowboy Woody, right? Buzz Lightyear and Toy Story, when you pull the string and you got 6 programmed responses that come out at the other end. That's what it felt like. Like there's no answers to the questions. So I'll ask you, like, what prompted the decision? Why are we here?
We don't know, essentially. And I know the university has said they were worried about the student experience, and they were worried about the student athletes moving on to their next football chapter. Well, I can tell you 2 things. In terms of the student experience, nobody ever asked the students. They want to come back and play football. In terms
Right.
of those options for these student athletes who are on scholarship right now, all the scholarship money in the recruiting cycle is used up. At least 90% of it is. So for those individuals that need to move from SFU to another program, those options aren't there. This was not well conceived by the university when they made this decision, or maybe it was well conceived by the university because there was no consultation leading up to this. No one had any idea that this program was going to be dropped. And then when it was announced, the players had 30 minutes to go and meet up in a theater with the athletic director and the VP Provo to tell them that the program had been shuttered. And that was at the start of their exams. These kids were in the middle of exams when this was happening.
Oh,
Like instead of having mental health officers on hand, they had security guards on hand, and then they handed them a pamphlet saying, "Oh, here's how to get some mental health help as you go out the door." It's been incredibly insensitive, incredibly callous, poorly managed. The communications department of Simon Fraser was absent for about 16 days. The great thing about it is, from our perspective, I've been running point on the media campaign for this. We were able to drive a truck just in a straight line, straight up a Saskatchewan highway with this, and establish the narrative on this thing. So, it leaves me somewhat speechless in terms of how the university has managed this. They're not living. They're not walking the walk, and they're not talking the talk.
whether you agree with their decision or not, whether you think the football program should be there or not, at least from a communications and a branding standpoint, if you're going to make a decision, at least be confident with it, communicate it well, and stick to it. Like, even if the answer is, we don't want our university to be a university with a football program. We'll hate you, but at least, we don't want a football program. Or at least say what's on your mind, what you're really thinking, or what the real decision is. It's just frustrating to get all the corporate speak. Look, we only have, about a minute left here. What's the best outcome for SFU? Is it to come up and play football and become a U Sports school? Or is it to continue to pave the way as Canada's lone NCAA school?
The best outcome for SFU right now as an institution, and I think the best outcome for these 95 student athletes and their coaching staff, is to avoid court on the 3rd and find a back channel here to avoid the vision and the specter of a university facing 5 young athletes in court saying you've broken a contract. In terms of reputation hit, I can't think of anything worse. Quite frankly, find a way around this, walk back a terrible decision, and then go on the road of playing an independent schedule. I think in this year, as they're still sanctioned as a Division II team, and dive in and work with U Sports, work with Canada West, and find a path for affiliate status for your football program. That's where the answer is here.
Yeah. Jim, a real treat. Thanks for coming on. We're following very, very closely. You can follow Jim Mullin, president of Football Canada, on social media, on Twitter. He's following this every day. Would you say $700,000 raised?
Yep. Yeah. And Dupes, I'm sorry the phone rang 3 times. It's kind of the territory these days.
I would expect nothing less. It's going to ring from me at some point here soon, too. So all the best, Jim. We'll be in touch. Jim Mullin, president of Football Canada.